Welcome to Crime Podcastle's Twisted Love, Crimes of Passion series, episode 3.
Oh, this is a good one.
Today, we're diving deep into a case that really shook the Indian art world.
Yeah,
The murder of Hema Upadhyay.
it's a tough one.
To understand this case, we need to think about Hema not just as a victim, but as a person. She was this rising star in the Indian art scene, you know?
Really talented.
Her installations explored urban life and displacement, really thought-provoking stuff. Sadly, her promising career was cut short on December 11, 2015.
Yeah, it's a date that's kind of infamous in the art world now. What makes this case so captivating is that it's not just a crime.
Right.
It's about the dark side of passion, ambition, these tangled relationships you sometimes find in creative circles.
Right, like a twisted love story gone wrong.
Exactly.
But there are so many possible motives here. Could it be a crime of passion, betrayal, greed, revenge? It's hard to say.
It really is.
Let's unpack the details of this complex case together and see if we can make sense of it all.
Okay, sounds good.
To begin with, we have to understand the troubled relationship Hema had with her ex-husband, Chintan Upadhyay.
Right.
They were both artists. Initially, they were considered a power couple.
Yeah, the art world loved them.
I can see how that dynamic might change once things went sour.
Oh, definitely. Their divorce in 2010 was anything but amicable.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There were these bitter legal battles, financial disputes, even accusations of infidelity flying back and forth.
Oh, wow.
It definitely created a lot of animosity.
So there's already a potential motive right there.
Exactly.
And it gets even more complicated when you consider what was happening in Hema's life just before the murder. On the evening of December 11, 2015, she and her lawyer, Harish Bhambhani, left her Mumbai art studio. They were headed to a meeting about a financial dispute,
Oh, wow.
which immediately tells you she was dealing with some serious conflicts.
Hmm.
That adds another layer to it all. It wasn't just some random attack.
Definitely not.
Something was brewing.
Absolutely. And the discovery of their bodies the next day was truly horrific. They were found stuffed inside cardboard boxes, dumped in a drain in Kandivali, a suburb of Mumbai. Both of them had been suffocated and bound.
Oh my gosh.
The brutality of the crime really shook people.
It sounds like something out of a nightmare. So what did the police find when they started investigating?
Well, the first thing that jumped out was this history of animosity between Hema and Chintan.
Right.
They had this bitter financial dispute going on, with Hema claiming that Chintan had siphoned off her money, and Harish Bhambhani, the lawyer who was also murdered, was representing Hema in this matter.
So Chintan becomes a person of interest pretty quickly, right?
He did, but of course he denied any involvement.
But I'm guessing the police weren't convinced.
Not entirely. They dug deeper, and that's when they uncovered another potential suspect, Vidyadhar Rajbhar. He was a fabrication artist who had worked with Hema on some of her installations.
Okay, so now we have two possible suspects, each with their own potential motives. This is where things start to get really interesting.
Yes, and the police had to try and figure out if these motives were connected or completely separate.
Right.
What they uncovered about Vidyadhar was that he apparently had a grudge against Hema over unpaid dues and some disagreements they'd had about their work together.
So he had his own reasons to be angry with Hema, potentially independent of Chintan. This is getting complicated fast.
It is. The police started piecing together a theory. They believed that Vidyadhar, possibly working with accomplices, had lured Hema and Harish to his workshop under the pretense of discussing this financial dispute. Then they attacked and murdered them before disposing of the bodies.
So in this theory, Vidyadhar is the main perpetrator. But what about Chintan? Where does he fit in?
The police believed that Chintan had actually conspired with Vidyadhar to orchestrate the murders. They painted a picture of years of resentment and conflict finally boiling over into this horrific act of violence.
That's a chilling thought, a plot hatched from years of bitterness. So they arrested Chintan.
They did, and the case went to trial. But that's where things took another unexpected turn.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. What happened?
Well, during the trial, the prosecution, laid out their case. Testimonies, phone records, financial transactions, all pointing to a connection between Chintan and Vidyadhar in the lead up to the murders.
It sounds like they were trying to build a strong case for a conspiracy.
They were, but there was this major twist that kind of threw a wrench into everything. Vidyadhar, the supposed mastermind, escaped police custody and just vanished.
Wait, he just disappeared.
He did, and he remains at large to this day.
Wow.
That's the thing about this case that makes it so difficult for, you to wrap your head around it. It's like a puzzle with a missing piece.
Yeah, I can see how that would complicate things.
Yeah.
So how did the trial even proceed? I mean, without Vidyadhar there to defend himself or give his side of the story?
It made things incredibly difficult for everyone involved. Chintan maintained his innocence throughout the trial. His defense team argued that the evidence didn't directly link him to the murders.
And what about Hema's family and friends? I can't imagine what they were going through during all of this.
It was incredibly difficult for them. They believe that Chintan was responsible. They were very vocal about wanting justice for Hema. They felt she had already endured so much pain and betrayal in her life. And to have it end like this was just devastating for them.
Did this case have any broader impact on the art world? I mean, it seems like something this shocking would force people to take a closer look at things.
It absolutely did. Hema's case really became a flashpoint.
Okay.
It forced a conversation about the often hidden vulnerabilities of artists, especially when it comes to financial matters.
You mean how they could be taken advantage of or exploited?
Exactly. There's this perception of the art world as being glamorous and elite.
Right.
But Hema's case exposed a darker side.
Yeah.
Suddenly, people were talking about the power dynamics between established artists and those who are just starting out, and the financial pressures that can lead to desperate choices.
So with all the evidence presented, the arguments made, these constant twists and turns, what was the final outcome of the trial?
That's where things get even more complicated. The court initially convicted Chintan of murder and sentenced him to life in prison.
So justice was served.
It seemed that way at first.
Okay.
But remember, this case is full of surprises. Chintan appealed his conviction, and in a shocking turn of events, the Bombay High Court acquitted him of all charges.
Wait, after all of that, he was a free man.
He was. The High Court cited a lack of conclusive evidence directly linking him to the murders.
So what happened next? Did they just drop the case entirely?
Not quite. The prosecution appealed the acquittal to the Supreme Court of India.
Okay.
As of today, that appeal is still pending, leaving the case in a state of legal limbo.
Wow. So we have a celebrated artist murdered, this tangled web of relationships, financial disputes, a prime suspect on the run, a husband initially convicted, then acquitted, and now a final verdict hanging in the balance. It's a lot.
It is. It's a story that really highlights the unpredictable nature of human behavior. Love, ambition, jealousy, and revenge. They've all been intertwined in this case from the very beginning.
And with so much left unresolved, it leaves you wondering, what really motivated this crime? Was it a crime of passion, fueled by a bitter divorce and those ongoing financial disputes? Or was there something more sinister at play, a motive we might never fully understand?
And what about Vidyadhar? Will he ever be brought to justice?
Right.
His absence casts a shadow over the entire case.
Yeah.
Without him, it's hard to say for sure what happened that night.
It's almost like he holds the key to unlocking the truth of this story.
He does, in a way. But even if he were to be found, his account would be just one piece of a very complex puzzle.
This case has had such a profound impact on those closest to Hema. Her family and friends have been forced to endure years of legal proceedings, reliving the trauma of her death over and over again.
Yeah. Their pain is palpable. They believe that justice hasn't been fully served, and they continue to fight for answers and accountability.
I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for them to feel like they're still searching for closure after all these years.
It's a difficult situation. They've shown incredible strength and resilience in the face of this tragedy, but the lack of a definitive resolution weighs heavily on them.
And beyond the personal tragedies, this case has really sparked a wider conversation about the art world and the vulnerability of artists. It's exposed a dark underbelly that many people weren't aware of.
That's right. People started to see that even in a world of creativity and expression, those baser human emotions, greed, jealousy, rage, they can have devastating consequences.
It's a sobering reminder that no matter what field you're in or how successful you are, those basic human instincts can still lead to darkness.
I think that's a key takeaway here. The Hema Upadhyay case isn't just a story about art or artists, it's a story about human nature and the potential for things to go terribly wrong when those darker impulses take over.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to reflect on what we've learned from this complex and heartbreaking case.
Absolutely. First and foremost, it underscores the importance of healthy communication and conflict resolution. This is especially true in close relationships. When resentment and bitterness are allowed to fester, they can poison everything and lead to devastating consequences.
It also highlights the need for greater transparency and accountability in the art world. We need to do more to protect artists' rights and ensure fairness in financial dealings.
And finally, it reminds us that even when we relentlessly pursue justice, it can still remain elusive. Sometimes the truth remains shrouded in mystery, leaving us with more questions than answers.
This deep dive has been a real journey. It's taken us through the dark side of passion and ambition and shown us the very real consequences of those darker human impulses.
It's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it. It forces you to reflect on your own relationships, choices, and the impact your actions can have on others.
And as we conclude this deep dive, we invite you, our listeners, to consider what this case means to you.
What are your thoughts on the motives behind the murders?
Do you believe justice has been served?
And what lessons can we learn from this tragedy to prevent similar acts of violence from happening in the future?
We'd love to hear your perspectives. Share your thoughts on our social media channels, join the conversation in our online forum, or simply take some time to reflect on the complexities of this case and its implications for your own life.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the twists and turns of the investigation and the legal battles.
Yeah.
But we can't forget the human cost of this tragedy.
You're absolutely right. At the heart of this are two individuals who were brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Hema Upadhyay, a talented artist whose life was cut short, and Harish Bhambhani, a lawyer who was just doing his job.
Right.
Their stories deserve to be remembered, not just as victims, but as individuals who lived, loved, and contributed to the world.
Absolutely.
Hema's art, for instance,
Continues to inspire and provoke thought even after her death. It's a powerful reminder of her creativity and her unique vision.
and Harish's dedication to his clients, his pursuit of justice, it speaks volumes about his character.
Absolutely. While the legal battle may continue and the search for Vidyadhar might go on, we can't lose sight of the human element of this story.
Right. The Hema Upadhyay case is a stark reminder of the dark side of human nature, but it also offers some valuable lessons.
I think so. It makes you think about the importance of communication and respect in all relationships and the devastating consequences that can unfold when conflict goes unresolved.
Yeah, it also raises questions about how we can better protect artists and ensure their rights are upheld.
Definitely. And on a broader level, it reminds us that the pursuit of justice can be a long and winding road. Sometimes the truth remains elusive even when we're desperately searching for it.
This has been a truly intense deep dive into a twisted love story. I think it's safe to say this case will stay with us long after this episode ends.
It's a story that makes you think about the complexities of human relationships and the potential for love, ambition, and resentment to lead to unimaginable consequences.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of a twisted love story. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit chilling.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to CrimePod Castle for more explorations into the dark side of human nature and the captivating world of true crime.
Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and as always, stay vigilant.